All right, welcome back to the show. It is, it's Wednesday, and we've kind of been muddling through the first couple of days of this week, but I think we're picking up some momentum now. At least I hope so. And it always helps when you have good people to talk with to help you kind of get through the show on a daily basis, and that's what we're doing here. In fact, my high-tech graphic people here are a little slow on the upturn because we always have to make sure, Chad Staggs, that by putting the direction of the arrow there, they know who is who. So my graphics people finally get caught up with us. This is Chad Staggs. He is the new defensive coordinator here at Furman. And as I said, there's been a whole lot of buzz about the high-powered offense we expect to see here. This guy's charge is to get a whole bunch of 3-and-outs and get the ball back to that offense. And he knows a little bit about putting together top defenses. Man, it's good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Although, as I said, you walked in here and it looked like you're about ready to go tee off at Augusta National.
Yeah. Well, the looks can look like that, but won't be much golf going on these days. A lot of work to do.
Yeah, matter of fact, you guys have camps, the overnight camp starting tomorrow, right?
Yeah, the legendary quarterback receiver camp starts up, I guess, Thursday, and hopefully the rain holds off, but we're excited about that, and we'll have a little bit of time off before the camps in July.
Right. So, and just coming off of some day camps a couple of days last week, right?
Yeah, it was a great turnout. I think we had right at 100 student athletes for both sessions. That's a good number that you can manage. It's not too many that you don't get a good evaluation or just miss anybody. So it was a good turnout. It went really smooth, and that's a good players to look at.
Well, let's talk a little bit about you personally first, because anytime there's a coaching change, an assistant or a head coach for that matter takes a new job, there are a lot of things that have to go on behind the scenes. The fans focus on, all right, let's get this guy in the office, let's get him to work. But there are families to move, there's housing to find, there's all these other things. And you and I were talking before we came back from the break that it appears that all of that has kind of fallen into place for you.
Yeah, I think everyone on staff has pretty much got their families here if they have them, or settled in. There may be one person that's just kind of waiting. I think he's a single guy, so he's kind of buying his time a little bit to save some money. But yeah, that's a challenge. The wives in this business are the true the true head coaches and coordinators, without a doubt. They have a lot more pull than you would ever think. And when you're away and they're single parents for 4 months, you really see what kind of angels they really are. They're truly the leaders.
Yeah, and even at that, with the year-round nature of college athletics now, they get to see a little more in the off season, but there's still the, honey, I'm going to work and I could be here a while.
Oh yeah. That I know. I talk to my young GAs and stuff, and they talk about getting married and stuff. And I said, you need to make sure you have this conversation. You're either going to move for your job or her job, because that's going to be an important part. And she's got to understand what she's getting into, because she's going to marry the game too. And the wives are unbelievable. Coach Hendrick's wife has really been accepting to my wife Kelly, and it's been a really good transition. So, the kids and Coach Hendricks, we treat it like family around here. My son Jack, he would come to practice every day and just skip school if he could. And he was at both both camps and running around. And Coach Quarles has a son, Coach Cronick. So it's a good time to get them up here, because they love just being around each other.
The wives really kind of form their own little sorority, don't they?
No doubt. Yep.
And really lean on one another for support.
Yeah, they do, and you make connections across the country through this profession, and you get to know people in different areas, and they understand what each other goes through, because it's different than in a lot of other professions. It's not like most, and so they do form a little sorority, and then Coach Hendrick's wife, obviously, she just took them all out to eat last week, and to get to know each other and the new setting of people, and so yeah, we're excited, and like I said, they're special people. You
were at Charleston Southern for
4 years.
4 years with Coach Jamie Chadwell. Of course, he moved on at the end of last year to take a new job, and then Furman comes calling for you to come up here and be the defensive coordinator. Clay Hendricks comes in, he gets the job, starts to put his staff together. He's zeroed in on you, I think, pretty quickly. What was it about this job and this situation that attracted you to Furman?
Well, I don't know. Most of the people have heard now that I grew up in the upstate. So I coached high school ball, Coach Satterfield, when he was at Lexington. And so I kind of grew up coming here, even on RA Day. I remember coming here as one of my first college football games. And so being from the upstate holds a lot of tradition and reputation. And it's always somewhere, even when I was a young coach and stuff, I'd try to call and get some of the head coaches in to call me back. They never would. I was telling Coach Hendricks yesterday. So it was really cool to kind of move up in the profession and finally get a chance to do something special here. There's a lot of tradition that I'd like to restore, not only winning, but, the whole traditionally that the Death Dealer defense and how good they were on defense when they won national championship, and Coach Johnson and our relationship and stuff. And so I'm excited about the high power offense, but I'm okay winning the game with a shutout too. So we're going to strive for that. Our guys are working hard, and we're going to set that culture up.
Yeah, we got to do it briefly, I think in 2013 when we made the late run to the conference championship, but it'd be nice to be able to bring back on a regular basis Smiley Hatchet's Flirting with Disaster that the Death Dealers kind of used as their theme song back in the day.
Well, that would be awesome. I'm on board with anything that goes along with that. We've always had some sort of niche where we've been. But it creates a culture that not only do you want to play good defense for the team, but you want to play because you got a little more special pride in it. And so, yeah, we're excited about that.
Although the kids these days might want to find their own theme song. That was the one back in the day.
Tradition is tradition. They have to deal with it. If they understand the tradition, they embrace it. Even with the music of today, I think they would get it. But you may have to school them up a little bit.
Well, and that's your job.
That is my job.
Among other things, right?
Amongst a lot of other things.
Chad Staggs, the new defensive coordinator here at Furman, joining us on the show. How would you describe your defensive philosophy?
Well, schematically, there's different sections of it. Schematically, we're really multiple. We say we're a 3-4, but we're going to kind of get in either a 4-down front or a 3-down front based off of what's best for us. And then we want to give the offense a challenge in terms of schematically not knowing what we're going to be. We'd like to shift around, move around, but then be fundamentally sound in what we're doing, matching numbers. We're usually going to match the box, have one extra in the box, stop the run game, force them into throwing the ball, try to make them one-dimensional. Then on third down is when we get a little more exotic. We put sub-package of dimes and nickel coverages and different things in, and that's when we get a little bit tricky, if you will, in terms of what we like to do. But really everything for me starts the first day. We're going to just talk about how hard you play, the effort and the toughness you play with. We want to play physical, fast, nasty is kind of our motto, if you will. And so everything starts with that, really, because no matter what I drop on a board, what's really cool about defense versus offense, they have to execute. Ours sometimes is you can beat a block and play hard, and it didn't matter what the call was. So getting them to understand that is the first step, which is they already really have in them. Watching last year's video, they play really extremely hard. So now it's just keeping them there and implementing the fundamentals that I like to teach and our coaching staff. Physical,
fast, and nasty is just another way of rephrasing an older football terminology. Coaches like their players agile, mobile, and hostile.
There you go.
Right?
We tried to update it a little bit. It's the 2.0 version.
I hear you. So where did the philosophy come from? Every coach, I think, has people who are mentors. You take this from somebody, and kind of form it into your own personal philosophy. Where'd your foundation come from?
Well, I've been fortunate to be around some really good coaches. Like I said, Coach Satterfield at Lexington High School, and Coach Holtz, and then Coach Spurrier at South Carolina, and then on under Coach Chadwell and stuff. But really, when I was at South Carolina as a GA, I felt like it really meant a lot to me the way we played defense under Coach Nix and how hard the guys would play, and Coach Mentor, and even those guys. I could just see that if the guys play with great effort, then the calls don't matter as much, and then you implement technique, fundamentals, tackling. And so that's where it really started from. And then schematically, it kind of started with there back in the day at Southern Miss when they had the really good defenses and had a bunch of guys in the NFL. Coach Nix was there, and he brought some of that scheme to South Carolina, and I learned some. And then basically me and a coach that was with me, Skylar McGee, we went to North Greenville with Jamie as co-coordinators, and we just kind of threw some stuff down and visited with some 3-4 teams, and then kind of started blending their own thing, and then from there it's evolved.
So will the defense fans see here at Furman schematically resemble what you did at Charleston Southern?
Oh yeah. I don't think it's a secret. I think people are trying to figure out what exactly we're going to be on offense, but we're going to run what we've ran. But every year we may be a little bit different every year based off the personnel.
Right.
You got some people that you use their advantage in different positions differently, and so that's part of the coaching. I think part of your job as a coach is to make what you have the best it can be, and it won't just be this is what we ran because this is what we ran, but it will be similar, and we'll figure out what we're best at through camp, and that's going to be big, and we'll run what we're best at.
The returning players got, I guess, their first snapshot of you and your defensive staff in action during spring ball. I mean, you'd gone through meetings, obviously, ahead of time, but on the field, they got their first look at Chad Staggs and his personality and his mentality. How did they react to you, and what did you learn about them?
It was really good. What was different about us on our side of the ball, we're extremely, extremely young on defense. Mm-hmm. If you look at it, I think we have 2 seniors and what about a handful of juniors. And so we're going to be young, so those guys are a little more impressionable than older guys that may have been here and they've been one way. And so they received us, did exactly what we asked, had a really good spring. I think we got a long ways to go. That's what we got the summer for, and that's what we got camp for. But if in my situation, there's some young ones, but then they're a little easier to mold, And they received us. They played their tails off in the spring. I thought the effort was outstanding. If they get my personality, they're going to be extremely competitive. I do not like to lose. Sometimes that's a fault. I get on them a little hard sometimes if we lose a drill or a game or third down or whatever it is. But if they have that personality, they're going to hate to lose too, mm-hmm. no matter what they do. And my staff is like that. We're very competitive, very energetic. If you're out at practice, I really encourage. I got a young group of coaches, and so they're flying around, running. They're excited to be there, and I think that gets in the players. And so that's what we're looking for.
It's an all-new defensive staff except for Dwayne Vaughn, I think, right. Is the one holdover here. So you guys have to get to know each other as a defensive staff as well and develop your own chemistry that then you hope translates to the players. How has that gone?
It's been really good. I'm the oldest one on defense at 40. So, those guys, a lot of my guys are young.
More young, impressionable guys.
They'll just do what I tell them to do,
yeah.
or what I ask him to do. And then Coach Miller is an extremely smart guy. He's been with me for a long time. He's a loyal guy. He's one of the best coaches I've had with me. I've known Vaughn for, several years, so we've had a relationship. And then Addison Williams, I was GA and coaching at South Carolina when he was a player, so I've known him, and then we would meet up in the offseason and see each other. So I've had a relationship with everyone but Kenny. And so Kenny just fit right in too. We get along great. It's a loose atmosphere. It's joking, but it's extremely hard working. So,
as you can see from our high-text graphics, folks, this is Furman defensive coordinator Chad Staggs joining us here on the show as we start to transition into some more football talk as the summer moves on and we get closer and closer to camp opening up in I guess early August, right? Late July.
Yep, I think July 31st is first practice is the first. They changed the rules this year.
That's about as late as you can get in July, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But we're talking about the defense, talking some Furman football here on the Dan Scott Show today. We talked about the philosophy. We know your track record. You put together some top 10 ranked defenses at Charleston Southern here in the FCS. There is, I should say, a lot of times a debate among football folks about whether it's a good idea to be a defensive coordinator on a team that wants to be a very up-tempo offense. Because if they're up-tempo and they're scoring within 2 or 3 plays, or they're turning the ball over or going 3 and out very quickly, defense doesn't get a whole lot of time to rest. From what we've heard about this offense, they want it to be an up-tempo style offense. So how does that fit into your philosophy, and talk about any unique challenges that presents as a defensive coordinator?
Well, I haven't really had to deal with that very much at this point. We were ball control. We're a tempo team before with Jamie, but we were ball control. We were always tops in the country in time of possession. So, but that really is going to fall under Coach Hendricks. You know, if we're struggling to stop them and they have to outscore them to win, that's what we have to do. If we're struggling to move it, then they're going to have to run more clock to win, and that's what they did at Air Force. You know, I had a lot of conversations with him about, you know, where we were with this before I decided to make my move, and that was one of them. It's like, we're going to do what it takes to win, you know. And it's going to take some time to get offense or defense and special teams where it needs to be. You know, first year is going to be a little different, and I think you kind of figure out where you are.
Well, if all the pieces, I don't mean to interrupt, but I am, but if all the pieces were in place and things were going well, you guys wouldn't be here. So you talk about the first year going to be different. That's right. That's something that sometimes people don't want to hear, but that's the reality.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because a lot of the, you know, you're buddies with a lot of these people on different staffs that don't have jobs, and it's very unfortunate, but that's kind of how it works, and we understand that when we get in it. But you're right, you know, and we'll figure that out. You know, like I said, it's going to be, if it works one way or the other, but in the end, it's all about the W on the board, and how you get there is going to be different maybe every game, and so we'll just have to see. You know, I don't want to give too much information away.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I was around Tommy Bowden long enough, and I heard him say 100 times when I'd ask him questions, if I told you I'd have to kill you. So I know how you guys are. You know, we talked a little bit about your defensive philosophy here just a little while ago. How much of that also is putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback? Are you guys going to bring a lot of pressure? Well,
it's really nice if you don't have to send more than 4 to get pressure on the quarterback.
Yes, it is.
That makes the job a little bit easier. But we'll figure out where we are. The game's different now than even 3 years ago with all the different run-pass options, and linemen are running downfield, but they're throwing passes, and the way they talk about the rules and stuff, and that makes things a little bit more challenging. But we will get pressure on the quarterback. You know, I'm a firm believer in the more you can hit a quarterback, knock him down, even if you don't get sacks, the better you'll play defense. But we will have to pick our moments too, because there's a lot that goes in how your secondary's playing, how your corners are playing. So, you know, there's a lot of things that people sit up in the stands and say, we got to blitz them, you know, but you know, sometimes they don't know what all goes into them, and so we have to see where we are in camp and then mold it from there.
Yeah, when you get into a situation where you can blitz because you want to and not because you have to, that's a good spot to be in, isn't it?
That's exactly right. I enjoy calling the game. I feel like I'm about to call a game. I put the headsets on again. It's pretty exciting. But
well, we are overlooking the stadium
if
you need to practice a
little
bit.
That's right. I've done a few games from the box. I like to be on the field now, but that's a fun part. But when you're forced to call certain things, it makes it tough. You have to put goal line in. That's usually you're not really excited about that and make those calls. You know?
Yeah, no kidding.
But
so you're a sidelines guy?
I'm a sidelines guy. I like to see the guy's face. I like to see where they are. The communication is a little bit quicker with me. I can make adjustments quicker. You know, the game is about action and reaction, offense and defensively. You know, you go in with a plan, and then they're going to change, and then you've got to change. And how quickly they can change again sometimes depends on how well they perform. You know, that's the way I think the game works. And then if we have to change again. And it's a lot easier to do from down there. You can see it like a chess match up here, but you don't feel the emotion of the game. And I think all that goes into play when you're calling a game. And I've really fortunate Addison Williams as a coordinator before, and he'll be in the box, and he's done it from up there, and we think along the same page. He's a really smart guy, and so I feel real good that he'll be very good eyes for me.
It's easier to yell at him from down there too, isn't it?
No doubt. I can grab him real quick. Grab him real quick down there.
When Clay was hired and got a chance to get him up here a week or so after that had happened, I asked him about how he was going to evaluate the returning players, the ones that he inherited, and ask him if there would be a lot of film study involved. And his answer surprised me a little bit. He said that he would do some film study, but not a great deal, because he didn't want to, I guess, have any preconceived notions about the players, and he wanted to see them on their own merits when they got into spring practice and everything else. And you're nodding your head as I'm saying that. Is that your philosophy as well?
Yeah, I've been fortunate. I've probably moved teams a little bit more than him and some of the other guys, and I always thought that was important. Is you want to have an idea of what guys can do so you can get them in the right positions the best you can. But, you know, there's guys that left that were bottom of the depth chart and left spring at the top because they may fit the scheme. You know, this is a different. It's going to be a different transition. It's a transition, and it's going to be different defensively than what they've been here. Being down in a 3-4 and some reduction front stuff versus a 4-3 techniques with the D lineman. They're not getting as vertical. So some of the guys that were recruited for that scheme don't fit as well as maybe some of the other ones that didn't fit it. And so we're having to work with the ones that didn't fit that scheme to try to find where they fit or get them to change their game or mold their game around some of that. So you don't want to put you kind of don't want to crown them too early. It's like the freshmen that showed up the other day. You know, some of them looked really good. And I told some coach, I don't crown freshmen too early,
right?
You know, and I'm a show me kind of guy, and so.
Well, another Tommy Bowdenism, you worry about that if you do it too soon because a kid may look like Tarzan and play like Gene.
Yeah, and sometimes they need some time to develop as a freshman. They're young, and it's not that they're maybe not look good on the outside. It's more how mentally tough are they on the inside. Sometimes they're small on the inside because you haven't been around them yet, and there's some of them just graduated. They were here a week and had to go back for graduation, so that's not their fault, but it takes us time maybe to toughen them up a little bit.
In your experience, even at the, I'll say, quote-unquote tender age of 40, I just hit 50 this year, so I can call you a young man.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, thank you for that. In your experience, we see it, and I've been covering Division I college athletics now for almost 20 years on a daily basis, and even in that time frame have seen kind of the way kids have changed a little bit. In your experience, are you seeing more kids who come in from high schools and you have to kind of get that sense of entitlement out of them, or are you seeing more kids who come in and understand what it takes to be successful at the D1 level?
You know, I was just recently able to see someone that Frank Martin made a quote that kids hadn't changed, but parents have.
Yeah.
You know, that quote you heard the other day. And I think that's more true than the kids changing. I think the kids will do what you ask and demand of them. And sometimes that's different maybe what they're getting at home. So I really thought that was really true. So, yes, the kids have changed. I don't know is because they've changed as much as the parents have changed. But what it really that we've always had is you got to love them. You got to – it don't mean you're not hard on them, but when they know that you truly care about them on and off the field, you'll get more out of them. But that doesn't mean you don't demand a lot of them. And that's the way we've always done it. I'm extremely close with our players. I just got back a week or two ago from a guy that graduated down at Charleston, and we're extremely close, but brothers and sisters fight. It's very intense. But in the end, it's how hard they're going to play for the man beside them. And I think that's where you start. The game hadn't changed in terms of that, and the closer teams are the best ones. And when your best players are the best people and giving their all, your team's going to be special. And so that's what I really think is important this summer and working on some of that chemistry with them. Because like I said, a lot of guys graduated on defense last year. So this is a very young group. You know, the leaders are a lot of juniors, you know, on this defense. So, you know, there's a lot of work there from a leadership standpoint. And, you know, when you live with a guy in college for 3 years, it's a little bit, you know, it's a little bit special, you know, and you're a little bit closer. And so that's what I think our challenge is defensively, is to get those guys to where they're laying it on the line. And when they leave the field, they left it on the field for their brother. And to me, that hadn't changed in 50 years.
Yeah.
And that's what we really try to get to now.
And you know, I think one of the more poignant moments for anybody who watched Clemson's visit to the White House the other day was when Dabo Swinney was making his remarks at the podium, and he turned around to the team and said, "I love you guys." And you could audibly hear the players say, "We love you too, Coach."
Yep.
And that doesn't mean that it's, you know, gathering around the campfire singing Kumbaya and all of those things. He's hard on them. Coaches have to be hard on players to get the best out of them. But then, you know, it's the old saying, you have to tear them down but then you also have to be able to build them back up. If all you're doing is tearing them down, that's not love.
That's right. And, you know, I've been brought up with some really, I mean, I've been around some really, really good head coaches all the way, and, you know, now with Coach Hendricks. And I've learned through a lot of those guys. And, you know, I remember way back when I was a young GA and young coach, it was, hey, if you're going to get on a guy and you're just going to get on him and he deserves it, that's fine. But on the field, put your arm around him and tell him you love him and whatever. And, you know, it'll be okay. Come back the next time. And I think that's important. Because they do deserve it sometimes, and part of that is you need to push them mentally, because the game of football is a very challenging game mentally. Mm-hmm. It's a very you got to really have some mental toughness, and I think that's where it comes in. I try to make my guys there, because if they can handle me in practice and they can handle me in scrimmages, the game should be easy. I want to make it tougher there on them, and so that's important. I can tell you. I mean, it's kind of gotten around my staff and where I've been to tell a kid you love them after a game or a tough loss or a great win is very normal. I mean, I think that's important. You know, guys for a long time never said it, and you know, you got these big, strong football players, but, you know, I think that's important because you really do, and I think they need to hear it. And just like with your kids, I want to make sure I tell them that every day, and my wife. And so they're part of the family, and if you're part of the family, you got to love them. You know, love them all. You know, sometimes they may get aggravated. You may get aggravated with one of them, but I think I truly believe I truly believe that's and as this profession, you know, you've moved up into profession. Some people talk about how more of a business it is in the smaller schools and stuff, but that's something I always want to carry with me, no matter where I am. Is that I think that's the part that misses in college athletics.
Before we let you go, just a couple more things, and we're visiting with Chad Staggs, the new defensive coordinator here at Furman. SoCon John made a good point on our comment section here on Facebook, that if you're going to run a 3-4, you have to have three pretty good defensive linemen, and it really starts with what you get out of the kid in the middle at the nose tackle spot. So just talk about that from a success standpoint, how key those guys are, and are you seeing guys here who you think can fill that role now?
Well, I think you guys know a lot more about him than I do. There's a guy returning named Jalen Reed that's a pretty good player. So I stepped into a good situation there. We need to build the depth at D-line, which is why we sign a lot of D-linemen, because they graduate a lot of guys. So there's going to be a challenge there for Coach Miller, and he's doing a great job with them, developing them, get them stronger. You know, we're going to have to play some of those guys this year, which is always tough when you have to play freshmen, but that's part – it doesn't – you know, that's the way it is. I don't know excuses. So we'll work hard at that. And, you know, for us, we're a little different in Wofford. We're structurally very similar, but we're a little bit different. So we don't always match. Just because it's a 3-4, there's a little bit differences in all of them, you know.
But regardless, and I talk about this all the time, when we're in the course of games, we'll see teams that run the double wing. We see teams that run the spread, spend the entire game in the shotgun and the pistol. You can do all these different things schematically, and the game has changed over the years. But the one thing that hasn't changed, regardless of what scheme you run on either side of the ball, it starts in the trenches, and you have got to win the battle of the line of scrimmage if you're going to win games.
I agree 100,000%, if you will. We're very successful where we had been, and we were really good there on D-line. But it took us a little time to develop it and redshirt some guys and recruit some guys. And the other part was you were willing to put the scholarships into it, and how much you dedicate, you know, because you only have 63 here, so how many D linemen do you have on scholarship? How many DBs do you have on scholarship? And there's a philosophy there that you have to work out under Coach Hendricks. And really early in the process, I was very adamant, and he was probably very adamant, that you're going to get as many scholarships as we need at D-line. And O-line, too, is similar. You got to have a quarterback, an O-line, D-line, and from there it kind of works itself out a little bit. And he thinks running backs, too, here. But I think you're spot on. If you can win the battle up front, you can run the ball and you can stop the run. And in this conference, and I've played several teams in this conference or defended them, if you can stop the run in this conference, you're going to give yourself a chance to win almost every game. Yeah,
and that brings up, and I'll make this the final question for you. But in this conference, and we talk about it all the time, you go week to week, and you're going to see more of a wide variety of offensive styles in this league than maybe any other conference in America. I mean, you're going to see a true option out of the double wing with the Citadel. You're going to see Sanford running at a lightning pace out of the spread. You're going to be seeing so many different things. What did you see on a week-to-week basis at Charleston Southern, and does it compare with what you're probably going to see here in the Southern Conference?
Yeah, it was almost exactly the same, to be honest with you. It's a brother and sister conference, really. I mean, because we had Citadel on the schedule there every year except for last year, and he played them twice. That one year we beat them in the playoffs. And so he played Citadel. Kennesaw as an option team, so that's very similar. Played Wofford in playoffs last year, so the option side of things, there you go. Then the pass lightning speed side, you did play Coastal, and they've been pretty good. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they've been pretty good too. So
we played them. About them.
Yeah, they were pretty good, and they were throwing the ball, slinging it around, high tempo. So we saw that from week to week, and I think that's one good thing about the 3-4 defense, being able to be multiple. You can match up the game plan based off of what you're seeing each week, and we're excited. We know our plans that we like to defend option with, and they're going to know it too. It's not like we hadn't seen Citadel 4 times, and we hadn't seen Wofford in the playoffs. I mean, I ended my season last year against Wofford, and I'm starting it up this year against them. So, I think we'll know what we want to do. They'll probably have an idea of what we're going to do. We're going to change a few things. I can't let Coach Lane in on too much of what I'm going to play. I got a few wrinkles for him, I believe, but it all comes down to fundamentals, and we're huge into that. The block and tackle, play with your hands. That was when I got here. That was really the big talk. So
yeah. And as far as a toughness standpoint, you go toe-to-toe with North Dakota State last year up at their place, and I think if we can reach that level of toughness on the defensive side of the football here, Furman fans are going to be very, very happy.
Yeah, you don't go up there and win the line of scrimmage, speaking from a defensive line standpoint, very often, and we did that. And, you got to be tough to play defense in this league because it is a smash-mouth, blue-collar, get-after-you, option at your knees. I mean, that's the way it is. You have to develop depth up front, and I got to make those guys tough, and like I said, we're at Furman, but I'm a blue-collar guy. We're going to do high academics, but we're going to get out there and work in the fields too, so that's kind of the way I approach it, and so we're excited about that, and we're going to that's our goal. We're going to win the line of scrimmage, exactly what you said.
I saw one of the players literally just shuffling in. It was like everything he could do to put one foot in front of the other as I was coming in this morning, come into the building. And I said, man, you're moving slow. And he said, early workout killed me this morning. So David Abernathy's putting him through the paces down there. But you know what he said? He said, that's good.
Yeah, that was my statement when the freshmen all showed up. I told him, if you don't leave the first few days and then by the end of summer say it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, then Coach Abernathy's cheating you. And Coach Abernathy was in there too and said, and they'll get it, because I think by the end of summer they need to feel like they've accomplished the season. I told them there's 3 seasons going on right now. End of the summer's season 1, season 2's football camp to prepare you to play the season, and season 3 is the real season. Yeah. So he's doing a great job. They're working their tails off. I'm excited about where we are, but you got to take that, and I've learned this over time. You got to take that effort and that intensity and make sure then during football camp they're taking the same thing but towards an execution side of things.
Absolutely.
And so that's going to be the next phase of it.
Well, Chad, listen, I know you got a lot more to do other than sit here and gab with me all day. We could go on and on, but I do appreciate the time. Hopefully it won't be the last time we get a chance to spend some time together and continue the good work. I'm looking forward to getting this season underway. I think there's a lot of optimism surrounding a team that only won 4 games last year because of what energy has been injected into this building. I think it's something that I've never seen before, and I've been through coaching changes, and maybe it's because I'm just in this building, but the energy here and the optimism surrounding the direction this program is headed is something like that I've really never seen with a coaching change, and here's to hoping that just continues to grow.
Well, I appreciate you having me, and I hope the next time we talk, maybe we're still undefeated, so that will make the energy a lot better.
Well, if nothing else, we'll do it before the season starts.
Oh, okay. I was kind of hoping at the end of the season.
I got you. I love it. Thank you, man.
All right, thanks for having me.
All right, that's Chad Staggs. We'll take a break and come back and close out the show right after this.
Stuck in a state of falling behind? Struggling